Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. If you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves. And if you're watching the recording, drop a two in the comments. My guest for this week is Tumelo Makgakga, founder and managing director of an audit, tax, and advisory firm. Tumelo, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Waze. Thanks for having me.
Let's jump straight in. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who
Mm.
is Tumelo Makgakga? Give us the backstory.
Sure. Well, like you said, my name is Tumelo Makgakga, and in terms of origin, I come from Limpopo in Thohoyandou Venda. That's where I grew up. That's where I studied, did high school, of course, and all of that. Whilst I was studying, of course, I did commercial subjects. I completed my matric 2010 World Cup year. And then after that, came to UJ 2011, did my BCom accounting, and yeah, after that, pursued a career in chartered accountancy. And yeah, fast forward to today, I'm a qualified chartered accountant, founder director here at First Place Assurance and Advisory, which is an accounting, tax, audit advisory firm. Supporting small businesses, individuals, and clients alike.
Amazing. And that was a very short intro. So maybe outside of work, what do you do?
Yeah, so outside of work, I've sort of picked up a hobby now. Started last year December with just walking and running. Now I'm quite a good runner. I've been running for about call it, let's say, 9 months now. So one of the things I really enjoy doing now is just running. Joined Strava, and I'm really just trying to improve my running. And so if I'm not working or if I'm not busy with the business, really I just try to exercise, to keep fit, and that's one of the things that I've just sort of picked up since last year December. And over and above that, of course, ways I'm a religious person. I go to church on Sundays. I've got a family. I'm married. I've got a young son. He's 2 years old and he's very busy. Keeps us busy every single day. But yeah, over and above the work and all of that, those are some of the things that I like doing. The business itself is growing. We started in 2020 during COVID. I was working at PwC at the time. When I eventually decide, you know what, it's not working for me in corporate. I need to go out and pursue my passion, which is business. And yeah, I sat down with the wife. I'm like, you know what, this is what I'm thinking of doing. If it fails, we'll go back to corporate. It's fine. So she agreed, and then eventually I started the business, this business, First Place Assurance Advisory. And yeah, literally we celebrated 3 years in July, this July.
Congratulations.
And it's just been, yeah, it's just been a growing business, something that's just keeping me busy. And yeah, I think it's also exciting because when you started, you have nothing, you've got that some savings, of course, and you're thinking, how far can I go until I get the next client? So I remember it took us about got the client, left corporate in June of that year 2020, got my first client around December. So a few good months there going on with just hunting, looking for clients, and so on and so on. But yeah, I think it's been quite a journey. The 3 years has been good. We've changed offices like 3 times now because of the growing business, employing people, etc. And yeah, I mean, those are some of the things that have been happening now over the past few months in the business.
Okay. And you mentioned you made the decision at the heart of COVID. I don't think that was by chance. It seems a lot of people made life decisions at that stage.
Yeah, it wasn't by chance because remember at the time most of the businesses or corporates were working remotely, right? And obviously with the busy season, you start to just see, you know what, maybe I need something else. Maybe this is not working for me for different reasons, of course. And at the time, I remember I had just started PwC about in January of that year. So about I was 6 months in basically. Before that, I was at KPMG in a similar role. So there was that shift that I made, and yeah, within those few months, I saw that, you know what, I'm not really enjoying. In as much as I like audit, in as much as I like, the job itself, but for some reason I wasn't just enjoying it. But I knew that, no, what, let me go try something else out there.
Because I mean, most people, you basically spend 6 years at big four auditing firms, and a lot of
Yeah.
people who spend that long time, they maybe say, okay, I want to stick around and become senior manager or audit partner of a big four firm. But you
Mm-hmm.
decided, no, I'm going to go the entrepreneurial route. So you tried something, well, something different.
Yeah, definitely. But to be honest with you, it wasn't, I didn't know as to when I was gonna make the jump. Maybe I was also of that, line of thinking to say, you know what, you go up the corporate ladder, you start, of course, as a trainee, you become promoted, you supervisor, assistant manager, you become the manager, and then eventually you're looking at that. But eventually, because I was also doing the EBA program, the ADP program, and then eventually I got that, and I saw, you know what, maybe I don't have to wait for another 5, 10 years to go try out business. Maybe I can go try it out. I've always been doing businesses on the side, even when I was working, so I've always been entrepreneurial. So that was one of the things to say, you know what, the current circumstances are not as favorable, or they are not as how I would want it to be, for whatever reason. Maybe there's other things that I can try, as a person who loves business, as a person who eventually wants to do this thing. Maybe now is the time. What if COVID wipes us out all? When will I do it? you know. So that was
Makes sense.
the line of thinking at the time.
Makes sense. So, I mean, you talk to us a little bit about, I mean, you changed from a senior manager or manager in an organization to an executive leader. Were
Mhm.
you prepared for that sort of shift? And what type of tips can you give those who are considering making that type of change?
Yeah, so well, of course, I left an organization where I was like a manager, leading groups of people in different engagements, and now here I am as an entrepreneur. Well, of course, I started by myself, so I had to be the person who does everything. There's no delegation. I had to take accountability for every single thing. I'm the marketing, I'm the finance, I'm the person who's doing the work for the clients, right? And obviously over time that changes as you bring in the first person. Now you then go back to that position of, okay, now I can lead and delegate, but then it's not the same, because your reputation is on the line. You need to prove to clients that you can do the job, you are capable of doing the work, and you want to gain the trust of the client, because you're still trying to put your name out there. So even when you add the second person, the third person, there's still that element of, you know what, I need to train these people. I need to watch over their work. Of course, I need to review their work. We need to have certain level of quality in terms of what we are delivering out to the client. So, in as much as previously, when you're in a management position, there were already systems in place that those organizations had to make sure that the quality of the product goes out to the client in a way that it is. And there are many things behind the scenes that are working to support that. But when you jump out and you go out on your own, you're starting from zero. You need to build a system. If something is falling apart, you need to wake up in the AMs and fix it. So it has been sort of that kind of transition. So if someone is thinking of transitioning, those are some of the things that they need to think about, as to what support structures are on the other side that I'm currently enjoying now, that will be removed when I do the jump. Am I ready for that? If things do break, what are my contingencies? What are my plans in terms of to still survive, to make sure that you don't find yourself 3 months later having to regress and regret your decision.
That makes a lot of sense. For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end. So please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. I see that you've got a financial modeling and valuation analyst certification, or FMVA. Tell
Hmm.
us a little bit more about how that process worked and whether the certification was of any value to you.
Sure. So I found out about the certification on I think through a colleague. I think I was still at KPMG at the time, and I was interested in doing valuations for property. For properties, valuing businesses. So I said, no, let me take this course. Perhaps it can help me. And at the time, I was working in financial services. So there was also an opportunity to apply those skills there. So I did the course. I think it was over a couple of weeks. It's quite a long course, but they take you step by step in terms of financial analysis, the basics of financial analysis, building models from scratch, using Excel and different models, covering the exact, like with practical examples, just showing you, taking you from the basics all the way up to maybe an advanced level. So what that process did for me at the time, as I was in financial services, I was at least able to understand the those valuations that the experts would be preparing, or when I then have to review the work, then I at least have got the additional background, which allows me to interrogate things further, which allows me to also have the additional inputs maybe to the client, or a value add items that needs to be there. But really, it's something that I think it's been very helpful. And even now, we do get clients that require those kinds of solutions. So it really does help, because the material is always available. You can always go back and see certain things that if you need to revise. And that's one of the tools that I still use even to this day.
Okay, that's amazing. So it's definitely added value.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, you mentioned as well that you are a registered auditor with URBA. How does one become a registered auditor, and like how long does the process take?
Sure. So the process when I did the audit development program, the requirement was that you need to do 18 months practical as a manager in an audit firm. So that 18 months is when you are doing the review work as a manager, and you also need to get a senior partner to sign you off on competencies. So that will be, we call that the training program. You will be registered with EBA as a trainee. There's what is called the ADP program. So you join that on a 6 monthly period. You would prepare reports, submit them to the IRBA, and then obviously once the 18 months is completed, the senior partner within your audit firm will sign you off, and then they would then submit everything, reports, letters to ERBA, and then ERBA would review. If ERBA has questions, they would come back on some of your experience, and then that, if you address those questions accordingly, then you would be given the certification, or you would be eligible to register as a registered auditor.
Okay, great. I had no idea that it would take a year and a half. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
yeah.
I see. I mean, you mentioned that you qualified at UJ, and I noticed you're also part of the Music Society. Most people
Yes.
don't think that auditors get that much involved in music. So tell us about that part of your life.
Yeah, so I'm a musician. I play guitar, bass guitar. Growing up, grew up in church, playing in the church band from all the way from high school. So even when I came to UJ, those were some of the societies, or additional extracurricular activities that I joined. We were in the bands. We were playing when they have these UJ functions, and so on and so on. So yeah, even today, as I'm still playing my guitar, but now I'm not as occupied with it as I used to be, because obviously now I'm building a business, family, and all of that. But when I do get a chance every now and then, I do play my bass guitar.
Great. Let's move over to some questions from the audience because I see a few coming through. We've got a question from Amir who says, "Was the course through CFI?" I'm assuming it's the FMVA
Yes,
course.
yes,
Okay.
yes. That is exactly what it was through.
And then we've got a question from Akil who says, "Would appreciate to hear what degree technology is impacting your business, and maybe some of the technologies that you've used to assist you and your staff in becoming more efficient."
Sure. So now, as part of our outsourced accounting functionality, we've got a lot of technological apps that we're using, like the Zeros, the Dext, and so on. Those are some of the things that we're using, where clients are able to upload supporting documents for us, and then we capture them through these systems. That helps us to work faster. That helps us to reconcile, do bank reconciliations faster, to prepare financial statements faster without having to do things manually. So yeah, technology is definitely a big element of the work that we're doing, and also like the cloud and all of those things. So most definitely, in order to get efficiency, I think it's very important to leverage technology, especially in a time where in a business where you are selling time. You don't want to spend time on things that can be automated.
100%. 100%. I don't see any other questions coming through. This is one question I like to ask all my guests, although I've missed it the last few weeks. But what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
My younger self, yo, I think one of the things I would say is just to don't worry too much, because I think when I was young, I used to worry too much, think if this or that was gonna work out. But I would just say, just do focus on the task at hand, and do not worry too much about the future and if this is gonna happen or that is gonna happen, because ultimately, if you do what you are faced with now at your best, and you are at your best now, eventually you will reach the future that ultimately you desire.
Any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Nothing in particular, but yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ways. It's really a pleasure. And like I said, I'm a huge fan. I have been watching the LinkedIn lives since last year, so it's a great privilege to be here as well, to just share a bit about myself and some of the work that we are doing here at First Place.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. The show has been live on YouTube and will be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Tumelo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ways.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.